Hey guys, Jengar here. Welcome to today's premium review in which we are taking a look at the Whirlwind P.9 sitting at 4.0 battle rating in realistic battle, and that is a quite nice battle rating for this plane. If you remember, I did review the Whirlwind Mark 1 when it came out, and when that thing came out it set at 5.0 battle rating. That thing has also been adjusted to 4.3, and after that this one came out with a little few tiny minute differences to the Mark 1, and this one sits at 4.0 and the Mark 1 sits at 4.3, much more suited to these planes, although the Mark 1 could actually also be adjusted to 4.0, I think, because this version might actually be a little better. That is mainly due to the change in ammo load. Of course, this plane has decent to good firepower, I would say, with 4x 20mm Hispano Mark 1s. They are Mark 1, so that makes it a little less good than 4 Mark 2s, for example. Although those spark a little bit more again as we take a crit on this guy. He's coming back around. Deflection shot. Yes! Oh, that's nice. Those deflection shots are always nice. But this plane, the P9, has 484 rounds in total. That means 121 rounds per gun, compared to the 60 rounds per gun on the Mark 1. That makes this plane a whole lot nicer when it comes to trigger patience and ammo load. The ammo load on the Mark 1 was bad, but the ammo load on this thing is definitely good. The 121 rounds last you a long time, as the Mark 1 are not that rapid firing, and if they hit target they are definitely nice, and they seem to spark a little less often than the Mark 2s in my experience. The maximum speeds in this plane are similar to the Whirlwind Mark 1, with 476 kilometers an hour without WEP and 485 kilometers an hour with WEP on sea level. On 4,500 meters this plane can go up to 450 kilometers an hour without WEP and 455 kilometers an hour with WEP, and at 6,500 meters finally she can go up to 406 kilometers an hour without WEP and 411 kilometers an hour with WEP. Now the WEP on this plane doesn't make a whole lot of difference as we take out another plane, a BF 109, in a head-on. This thing with this configuration of the guns are also placed slightly different on the P9. They are now in a straight line, where the other ones were two duos right above one another, which is quite nice, but this gives a very focused beam, and I prefer this setup a little bit more than the setup on the Mark 1. But exact same speeds as on the Mark 1, there's no difference there. Top speed in a dive on this plane is 640 kilometers an hour before it redlines and 700 kilometers before it rips apart. Stall speed in the plane is 160 kilometers an hour, which is decent. Like I said, I used stealth in these matches with an 800 meter convergence, and that works really well. Nice firepower on the plane, and ammo load is good. Acceleration of this plane in a straight line is average, and in a dive it's decent. This plane is not the go-to thing for performance, with the energy retention in the horizontal being very good, but in the vertical it is decent. This plane has a little bit heavier weight, thus the climb rate is slightly less good than on the Mark 1, and the energy retention in the vertical is also obstructed a little bit by this little bit of extra weight. It is not really noticeable, but it is slightly less in those departments than the Mark 1. It is purely the ammo load that makes this plane slightly different when it comes to that, which is not a lot. There is a lot of control stiffening in this plane. Starts pretty severely at 500 kilometers an hour and at 600 plus the elevator starts to be effective a lot as well. So definitely that is the effective dive speed, 600 for the elevator, and for the roll rate it starts to stiffen up already at 500 kilometers an hour. Climb rate in the plane is slightly below average. With the air spawn that definitely saves it, because the air spawn is fantastic on this plane. The other Whirlwind has it as well, and that is definitely what keeps this plane competitive. It was direly needed at 5.0, but at 4.0 the air spawn combined with the climb rate this plane does have almost guarantees a place up there with the highest planes. You often outclimb the Hitler bolt as well in this plane. Thanks to that high air start, it almost spawns somewhere between the attackers and the bombers. It does get a high starting point, and that is good. It makes the plane competitive, let's say. Roll rate in this plane is decent for a heavy fighter, and the turn time is average. The flaps are usable and they make the turn time a little better than average, but they only rip off at 500 as well, so you can definitely use them in a pickle. I don't need them here actually with this Focke-Wulf 190 at the moment. I have quite a few kills on my belt already. Took this plane back to the airfield as I had 2 people on my tail, and this guy stuck around. And it is amazing how long he survives the AA guns. Here I thought the AA guns would help me. Of course you noticed already that I got a few nice gun solutions, but I didn't fire. I am tapping the firing button of course, but I already ran out of bullets. I have 0 rounds left after that last encounter where I could still shoot something. And now this whole dogfight with this Focke-Wulf 190 is, I'm basically playing with him. The turn time on this plane, the maneuverability, is better than the Focke-Wulf 190, and we are easily playing with him. Could have had him here again as well, but yeah, I can only use foul language on him and depend a little bit on the AA guns, but you know, when I get around airfields I usually get killed by the AAs pretty quickly, but this guy really tested his luck and he just stuck around, man. I thought he would go away after a while so that I could land. I'm also sitting at 3 minutes of fuel, and that is going pretty rapidly. But oh well. I mean, I just have to be patient, I guess, and I will be. Let's see, where were we? Yeah, average turn time with flaps ripping off at 500. Roll rate decent for a heavy fighter, but compared to most single engine fighters, you are in a disadvantage when it comes to the roll rate, which is subpar compared to those things. Especially a 190 here that could outroll me with 2 fingers, let's say. Maneuverability overall is decent. Overheating, it does have overheating, and especially when you use web, it easily overheats. It goes into the orange pretty quickly. Takes a little longer to get into the red numbers, but and it's easy to cool off as well. But with extended dogfights and extended web usage, you can definitely overheat this plane, and it could present a problem in that case. But if you keep it in the orange and you cool it now and then, it is pretty manageable. As I tried to land, as I thought he was going away, I got surprised. He came back and he tried his luck again on the AA guns, and I easily avoid his shots here. Going up into the vertical, going back into an engagement with him, as he does get hit by the AA this time, and he is smoking a little bit. So there is that. He took a little bit of damage. Maybe that will make him go away. There is one other player on the enemy team still alive, and I was just cursing and screaming because I want to land, I want to reset. I know that guy is probably already lock and loaded and coming back. He can spot me because of this guy. And well, here we go. They put out a blind hunt on me in the end when I was on the airfield, and here comes the Ta-154. Good plane. I don't like that plane, don't like to fight against it. Definite devastating armament on that thing. And the durability on this Whirlwind is average. It doesn't take damage too well. It easily takes fires on the wing sometimes, and it is not a sturdy frame, let's say. It's quite a fragile plane. Here we go. Come on, roll over, shoot. We do get a hit in. We do get a hit in, but that one hit of that guy took out my whole rudder. If one of those 30 millimeters on the Ta-154 gets on a surface, you are very likely to lose that surface, like just what happened here. I didn't take any other hits. It was just one bullet, it was one tick. It took out my complete rudder and it damaged my elevator. Very nice. And now of course I'm moving all over the place. I can't really adjust to the sides very well, and the A1 here gets good shots on me, basically crippling me as the Ta comes in to finish me off. And that was an ace, but not a real ace because I actually died. I could have finished that better if I would have been a little bit more lucky with the AA guns on that Focke-Wulf. Then I could have landed quicker and I could have built up speed, and I could have taken that Ta-154 on a bit more equal terms. But I almost got away there, but one of his shells hit my rudder and rudder gone, and that took me out, unfortunately. We go into the AB match where we take out a B-25 in my first pass as we're going back to altitude, and see what we can do here with this A-20 coming in for a head-on. Before he can get his guns on target and fire at me, I win the head-on there. This plane is very good at head-ons, and the pilot is protected enough that you can survive them pretty often, as you saw in that RB match, and you will see that again in this AB match as well. Good firepower, and if they come into that stream of bullets you produce with those 4 closely put together 20 millimeters, then they will die. It's very simple. We've got a P-47 coming up for us for altitude. We're going into the vertical, stalling him out, or trying to. He is not quite done yet, as he pulls out his last breath to try to get his guns on me. Didn't work, and we're just slowly ruddering around here, getting a gun solution here. Oh, stop with the rudder, please. And there we go. One P-47 less in this match. And we got several people below us as we go and make a attack on the Hurricane here, who's been out for quite a ride already. I think it's time to get some gun solution here, taking him out very easily. He was not paying attention. He was already flying for more than 20-25 seconds. That was easy. But all in all, I quite like the Whirlwind P.9 much more than the Mark 9 initially, because well, the Mark 1 initially, because the Mark 1 really set at a completely wrong battle rating for the performance of that plane. It was outclassed, and it was ridiculous when it had up tiers against 6.0 planes with a Whirlwind that basically could not outperform 3.7 airplanes when it comes to performance. So that really set at a wrong battle rating. I think the 4.3 is still too high on the Mark 1, but the 4.0 on this one definitely makes this plane sit in a good place. The up tiers are still a little bit steep when it comes to performance, but the plane can hold its own thanks to its air spawn, which is quite high, and definitely gives the plane a high place to start with, which it really needs. It is not the fastest plane in the dive, so it's not a pure boom and zoomer, but it can energy fight a little bit. It doesn't do any of the roles too well, to be honest. I mean, the performance of this plane is not fantastic. It is decent though for a heavy fighter, and the firepower does make up with it. With a high spawning point, you can definitely do short boom and zoom runs, energy fight a little bit, although the plane is not fantastic at that, and it is also not the best turn fighter in the world. So I cannot recommend any of the roles specifically that this plane could do excellently, but you can do everything at least to an acceptable degree, especially when it comes from altitude. So there is that. We take out the Corsair here as we hold the altitude advantage here. Unfortunately, the enemy did get more at the ground targets and we do not manage to win the match, but it does give you an idea of what this plane can do when it gets the altitude advantage. 9 kills, no special rewards, almost 30,000 silver lines and 2700 research points. Hey guys, so here we are after the match. Now there's a world of difference on where the Whirlwind Mark 1 used to sit at 5.0. It sits at 4.3 now, that's great, but it should go to 4.0 at least, I think. The P9 though is a different story compared to the Mark 1 because it holds a lot more ammo, and that was one of the major drawbacks of the Mark 1. It's 60 rounds per gun on the Mark 1s. And this one has twice as much +1, which is quite nice. It makes this plane workable. You don't have to be just as trigger patient as on the Mark 1, and that really gives this plane an advantage over the Mark 1. It's slightly less performing in the climb rate and the energy retention in the vertical due to the slightly heavier weight that the P1 has compared to the Mark 1. But that is really minute, that difference in performance. They basically are the same plane when you fly them. The setup of the guns is in one row here, where on the Mark 1 they are positioned in a square. And well, the ammo load, it is a huge difference. And it makes me like this P9 much more. The battle rating is also much more correct. The air spawn is very nice. All in all, I really like the P9 as it sits right now at 4.0 with this current flight model and the guns and the ammo as they are. This plane can definitely be recommended, so I hope you got it in the last event, and if you didn't, make sure to pick it up the next time when it comes available. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the review. I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye. If you're new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button, become part of this community. If you are already a subscriber, don't forget to like the video, do leave me a comment, and if you really feel like helping out today, make sure to share the video with your friends and let them know about the channel.